Start the chapter. Writing in a diary is a really strange experience from someone like me. Not only because I have never written anything before, but also because it seemed to me the letter on neither I nor anyone else will be interesting in the mustang of a 13 years old schoolgirl. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing. I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. Yes, writing a diary is one of a very good skill where you can write whatever you feel by heart. Here Annie also written of her feelings, what she have in her heart, what she wants to say. There is no one to whom she can speak and express her feeling. So what she did, she wrote a diary and she expressed her feelings in a words. Paper has more patience than people, I thought. Of saying this, no one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hand, bored and listless, wondering whether to say in or go out. Yes, paper, whatever you will write, how much you will write, it will never say stop. The paper has a very good patience to listen you, to understand you, that a human being never had that one. The same thing, Annie was bored, alone, and she wants to say something to someone. So she started writing our diary in a diary. I finally stay where I was boarding. Yes, paper does not have more patience, and since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stuff back notebook, grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. Now I am back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. Here Annie made her diary the best friend because diary was the only thing where she can express, she can speak, she can do her thing by writing. Let me put it more clearly, since no one will believe that in a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world. 13-year-old girl who is not with everyone. She was alone. She needs someone to speak. Like this is, it is a teenager. You all are having a friends. You share your secret with your friends more than your parents. That thing Annie also did. I have loving parents and a 16 years old sister, and there are about 30 people I can call friend. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. No on the surface I seem to have everything except my one true friend. All I think about when I am with friends to have a good time. I can bring myself to talk about anything but only everyday thing. We don't seem to able to get any closer, and that's the problem. Maybe it is my fault that we don't confine in each and other in case that just how things are and uncomfortably they are not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. Annie was at that time in a very safe place. A family, friends, good home, everything was available to Annie. But time never always the same, children. Sometimes time changes. Now we are also facing that we are isolated, we are staying at home and we are doing everything from home. We can't go outside. The same thing, Annie was alone. Annie was terribly missing her house, her family, her friends, and the most important thing, her school. We will read on this story. To enhance the image of this long waited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the fact in this diary. The most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call my friend Kitty. Yeah, in a diary writing section, I told you in class 9, ninth B, that how to write a diary. When I taught in class ninth B to you, I taught you how to write a diary. Make your diary and give a name to your diary. Same as well, what Annie did, she also gave a name to her diary because she was creating an imagination friend through a diary, that is Kitty. Since no one would understand a word of my story of Kitty if I were to plunk right in, I had better provide a brief case of my life, such as I dislike doing so. Brief sketch means where you are writing, you are pen downing whatever you are feeling, whatever you did, and whatever you are missing. Now when you will go back to your school after the isolated days, after 21 days, what you will do? You will share each and every day. You will tell your friends what you have done, how you have felt at home. The same thing Annie was doing with the diary. My father, the most adorable father I have ever seen. Yes, for every child, and for especially for the daughter, father is the most important person. For me too. Didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926 and I was born in 12 June in 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father migrated to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margaret and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. When Annie's father and mother migrated to Holland, they have not took their children together. They went alone there because they had to settle down. Or some other, maybe they have some reasonable personal reason. And Annie and her sister was with her grandmother. Margaret went to Holland in December and I followed in February when I was plunked down to the table as a birthday present of Margaret. Margaret went to, and his elder sister named Margaret, she went to to her parents on the month of December, and after 2 months, that is February, Annie went there and it was her birthday time. I, sta- I started right away at the Montgomery Nursery School. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. In the sixth form, my teacher was Mrs. Kurups. Her first teacher name was Mrs. Kurup. Do you ever remember your first teacher name? Try to remember today. The headmistress. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said to heartbreaking farewell. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and I had to have an operation, so my birthday passed with little celebration. Every child loved to celebrate his or her birthday. Similar, Annie was also on that way, but her parents can't celebrate her birthday because her grandmother was ill. Grandmother died in January 1942. No one knew how often I think of her and still love her. Annie and her grandmother has a very good bonding. She loved her grandmother by her. How many you love your grandparents? Everyone, because they are the safe hand. They always care for us. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and grandmother candle was light alone with the rest. Four of us are still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of June 20, 1942, and the solemn dedication of my diary. Now let's see what Annie wrote in her diary. Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quaking in its boots. This is the one short up paragraph is taken from the Annie's young girl diary, a novel. There is a novel, the diary of Annie Frank. If you go to the novel, you will have the whole of the experience of Annie Frank. But here, it only one extent has taken to give you the chapter. Our entire class is quickened in its boots. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which form and who will be kept back. Half of the class is making bets. GN and I laugh ourselves silly at the two boys behind us, CN and Jacques, who have stuck their entire holiday saving on their bet. From morning to night, it's you are going to pass. I am not. Yes, you are. I am not. Even GS pleasing glance and my angry outburst calm down, let them down. If you ask me, there are so many dummies and about a quarter of the class should be kept back, but teachers are the most unpredictable creature of the earth. Obviously, every of the students have think that teachers are the most unpredictable. How they will react, what kind of reaction they will show in the class, they don't know. Sometimes they are very polite, good, and kind to you, and sometimes they are oh god, very harsh to you. I know every child have a same feelings. Even during the time of our school, we also had the same feeling for the teachers. And he also, maybe I will pass or not because it totally depend on teachers. Annie was not very good at student. She is an average student. I am not worried about my girlfriends and myself. We all will make it. The only subject I am not sure about is math. Anyway, we all can do its weight. Until then, we will keep telling each other not to lose heart. Maths. If I ask most of the class of you in which subject you are having a phobia, you all will raise about the subject mathematics. I don't know why. Most of the children hate maths. They think maths is one of the subject which is not should be in a study. It should be stuck out. But dear children, is one of the very interesting, as Annie and Annie's friends also having a phobia on maths. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. In any school, any subject teachers are 9. There are 7 men and 2 women. How many you are having? Count it. Until then, we all telling Mr. Kessing, the old foggy who teaches math, was annoyed with me for age because I talked so much. Annie was talkative, and Mr. Casey was their mathematics teacher, and always mathematics teachers are strict to the children because they teach them they want a good marks in maths. And Annie is a talkative. The teacher don't like Annie. Mr. After several warning, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox? What can you write about that? I had worried about the letter. I decided I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. What the teachers gave a name to Annie, that is chatterbox. Chatterbox means the person who speak continuously and having lots of words and lots of story in his mind. That's what. So what the teacher do? He gave extra work, and one day the teacher was annoyed and get frustrated, and he given a lot of work to Annie that write an essay on chatterbox. And Annie keep herself on even chatterbox, and she start keeping herself quiet. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eyes. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on and leave big space between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing argument to prove the necessity of talking. I thought, and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote the page 3 Mr. Kessing had assigned me was satisfied. I argued talking in a student trade, and that I would do my best to keep it under control. Now she remembered that Mr. Kessing has given one more assignment to him, that is to write an essay on chatterbox. But that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit, since my mother talked as much as I did and not more, that there is not much you can about inherent traits. Mr. Kessing had a good laugh at my argument, but when I proceeded to talk with way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it. Mr. Kessing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the third lesson, he had finally had enough. Annie Frank, as a punishment for talking in a class, write an entitled "Quack Quack Quack," said Mistress Chatterbox. Teacher was frustrated of Annie's nature, so he has given another task to him, that write an essay on "Quack Quack Quack," said Mrs. Chatterbox. Annie was annoyed how to write the essay. Today we will do this much. Now I'm going to give you some assignment. You will complete your assignment and you will inbox me in my personal number, that is 7388735883. I want my homework in my personal WhatsApp window. Thank you and Jai Hind. Again we will have the class. I will inform you.